See, now we learned about the emerging modes of business, so let's do some exercises to test our knowledge. Okay, now this is the first exercise which says answer the following. So you need to answer the questions which have been asked. So what are the questions? You have to answer what is a mode of business. You need to give an example of two application of businesses, an example of C2C, that is consumer to consumer. Then you need to say two resources which are required for e-business. What is URL? Okay, and then example of a shopping website. Okay, now let's see what are the answers. See, what is mode of business? This is the way in which the business is done. Remember, this I had explained you. Now e-procurement and e-auction would be the two application of businesses. An example of C2C, as I was telling you, eBay, Magic Bricks, OLX, these all would be examples of C2C transactions. Now what are the two resources which are required for e-business? One, you need to have a computer. Second, you need to have a website so that you can do e-business. Okay. Now what is URL? See, URL stands for Uniform Resource Locator. Now when you go to website, when you want to go to a particular website, you type the address. So that is what the URL is. So when I am saying www.google.com, so that is what I am referring it to, a URL. What is the example of shopping website? You have Myntra, you have ShopClues. So there are many examples which we can give when it comes to shopping website. The next is about say if the statement is true or false. Okay, so let's see what are the statements. Now the first question which is being told is e-cash is the payment mechanism of e-business. Okay, the second statement says that outsourcing does not involve offshoring. Okay, the third is BPO involves outsourcing of knowledge processes. The next statement is online bidding is an application of e-commerce. Lastly, there are no risk in online transactions. So these are the statements which we need to analyze and say if they are true or false. Now see, e-cash is the way I explained you already, you can pay online. So e-cash is the payment mechanism of e-business. Now outsourcing does not include offshoring. See, offshoring is nothing but when a company situated in US transfer or outsource its work to India, it would be known as offshoring. So outsourcing does include offshoring. BPO involves outsourcing of knowledge processes. It is a false statement. Knowledge process is done by a KPO. Online bidding is an application of e-commerce. That's a true statement we discussed earlier in the topic. Now there are no risk in online transaction. We already discussed the risk which we face when we are doing an online transaction. So this is a false statement. Now we have been asked to distinguish between a KPO and a BPO. See, the basis of the distinction can be done is on the basis of the activity. So in a BPO, fringe business activities, that means the activities which have high volume or high data involved, the volume of data involved is too high, but then the work is more of mechanical in nature. When you compare this to a KPO, you require a specialized knowledge. Okay, so these are specialized knowledge based services, whereas BPO is a fringe business activities. The focus when we are outsourcing it to BPO would be on reducing the cost. Here it would be getting specialized solution, but yes, remember even in KPO the objective is to reduce the cost, but the focus is more on getting highly skilled labor at a lesser cost. The qualification in a BPO, you require basic qualification. Here it is competent education, that is you need to be a professional such as a chartered accountant or a lawyer. Involvement with clients, the involvement in BPO is very less or almost negligible. Here there is a greater involvement because these experts continuously keep on talking to the clients to understand the requirement and give them the requisite solutions. Now let's see the next question. So the next question is distinguish between an e-business and a traditional business. Now what would be the basis of distinction? The first one would be formation. See, e-business, I already explained you, it is very simple and easy to form compared to traditional business, which is a bit difficult to form. The physical presence is not required in e-business, but it would be required in a traditional business. When it comes to transaction risk, there is a high risk because of distance and anonymity. Okay, so because the buyer and the seller are at two distinct places, the risks are very high. Here it is, the risk would be very low because the buyer and the seller would be in proximity and the transaction would be done at an arm's length transaction. Okay, when it comes to global presence, here the risk is high, the global presence is very high, as the cyberspace has no boundaries. You can reach to any corner of the world. Here the global presence would be very low because there is tremendous cost involved. A person has to travel if it has to reach a particular country. Okay, the cost of setting up is very low, but in traditional business the cost is very high. This brings us to the end of the topic.